IVM.
At Simplified, we love discussing hypothetical scenarios for the future, like what the post-COVID world would be like, or if machines could take over the world the way Skynet does in Terminator. Well, the latter can be avoided if we empower our youth and everyone else with the knowledge of AI and how it can be used to make our lives easier and better, just without any of that taking over the world stuff. Luckily though, Intel's Digital Readiness Program empowers everyone with the skill sets, mindsets, and tool sets to use in an AI-fueled world. The Intel AI for Youth program is an initiative that guides today's youth to an understanding of AI, how it's designed, and why it's important today. Intel's been working with the CBSE, the Ministry of Education, and the Government of India to empower today's youth to build social impact solutions while demystifying what AI is. So, how do you take advantage of this? Purchase an Intel Core powered PC and you get free access to 80 plus hours of immersive and hands-on training about AI. On completion of the program, along with a certificate, you get access to AI toolsets to try to put to use what you've learned. So don't wait. Log on to futurebanaowonderful.intel.com. Future Banao Wonderful by bringing home an Intel powered PC.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Simplified. In the last episode, we had Bertie on so much, and our listeners loved him so much that they asked for him back. I
did ask for
Yeah.
people who listened that.
So Bertie is a man of many hats, as we discussed in the last episode, and we could have an entire new podcast series just talking about Bertie. And Bertie's too shy to start a podcast.
Actually, when we were kids, there was one very elderly auntie used to live nearby, and she was basically, no one wanted to talk to her because she would keep talking and talking. So her technique was, if you were in the orbit, right, she would just catch you, hold a button of your shirt and not let you go. Right? So we have done that to Bertie. So we basically caught hold of Bertie's shirt button and we are not letting Bertie go. So after night, today we are going to talk to him about something.
To ensure that this does not happen again, I'm wearing a t-shirt. And catch a hold of me now.
Very smart. Very witty joke. Okay. So in the last episode, we discussed a fairly serious topic, and would encourage listeners to go back and listen to that one if you haven't, because that's has likely a lot more ramifications than what you're going to listen to today. But another thing that I've always been keen to talk to Bertie about is related to music. Now, Bertie and I have spoken about music ourselves various other times. We've conducted live listening sessions, and we've done a couple of those clubhouse-like experiments as well. What I want to talk to him about today is his love for vinyl records, especially. And he's a huge fan of those. He's got a couple of vinyl players, I think, and his house in Madurai, where he's from, is basically like one of those European record stores that are like top to bottom with all sorts of old stuff. And to see Bertie talking about his records with pride, like, I like music too, but when somebody asked me, if somebody were to ask me, show me your Iron Maiden collection or something, I'll take screenshot of my folder and say, here are my top 20 songs or something. But Bertie's not that way. He'll carefully dust out and say, here's this thing is autographed by this person, see this. So he's like slightly old school that way, which is kind of fascinating. And I know that so here's the interesting thing. I don't know, Naren, Tony, if you guys know this actually. Even though 95% of music these days is consumed streaming, which is Spotify, Apple, YouTube even, and so on, vinyl has actually been growing at 100% for the last decade or so. In terms of, obviously the base is a lot smaller, but it's still just fascinating that this technology, which was like almost a century old,
more than a century old,
is growing so fast. And the other thing is, like, CDs are nowhere in the picture, right? So CDs, iPods even are nowhere in the picture. It's like we have gone back totally old school with respect to this. there are new and better vinyl players themselves that are coming out from players like Audio Technica, Grado, and a whole bunch of others. So there are even specialized stores across India. The Revolver Club in Bombay being one of the most famous ones, and many of my friends have started getting into vinyl as well. And that's fascinating for me because not just is it old school in terms of format, it's also pretty expensive for a single vinyl record, which is one album that probably costs you anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 rupees, depending on whether it's imported, the quality of material, whether it's a double album, whatever the case may be. So yeah, I just thought that's a fascinating topic to talk about, and who better than a vinyl head to to take us through it. So Bertie.
Yeah, but can I ask a question? How does vinyl work?
Very nice. But I've never been referred to as vinyl head before.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's also in your bucket list.
Yeah, sounds like a villain. Sounds like one of those villains from the old Batman.
Yeah.
Vinyl head. I will only curse you in high resolution.
That's pretty cool. Okay, first of all, thank you so much. Now here's the thing. Quick correction. You said I like music and records. I like physical manifestations of music.
Okay,
that's where I want to put it.
Okay, all right. And since you can't have the band themselves physically, like imagine how cool it would be. I feel like listening to Maiden today. Like open up the cupboard. Bruce, come, Nach. It's not too far away, but anyway.
So here's the thing, right? So okay, what is basically music? It's just basically frequencies and waves traveling through the air, which your ears capture and then send it in your brain saying, hey, there's some interesting collection of waves which you like.
Yeah, podcasts are also that way.
Pretty much. Now, when you hear
simplified vinyl, we should have.
Oh, I can get that for you. Every episode of mine. So when you have a live band, there's nothing like it. Yesterday, I saw this rare 1979 gig of the Police playing at Hatfield Polytechnic, which is a small college somewhere. And they've played a Message in the Bottle for the first time. Okay, 3 guys on stage killing it. And you can see the energy that comes. And all of you have gone to various concerts, be a Hindustani concert or a metal concert. The feeling of being in a live concert is different because what you get is pure, unadulterated, uncompressed music, which is traveling into your ears. Now, as I told you, I love physical manifestation of music. So what are the different ones? Streaming, online, CD, DVD, cassette. Okay, all these are different versions of that. Now let's go one by one. Streaming online is completely digital. It's digital. What you're listening to is digital. It sounds crisp. It sounds clean. It's perfect. Whatever happens or done, it's bits and bytes which you are listening, which has been amplified and you're listening. Same thing for CDs. Your CD is basically just ones and zeros, which the computer software reads, and then you hear that. Cassette, yes, a little more analog, but you have a magnetic head. So it's basically there's a magnetic bit in the middle where it transfers the waves, and then the waves then become physical waves through your speakers, which you hear. Right? Now, between those and the live concert is vinyl. Okay? Now, there are multiple reasons as to why I love vinyl, but I'll tell you 2. Okay? The first is that it is completely uncompressed music. Okay? So when you listen to music on either a cassette, because it has to fit into that small tape, or on digital, it is compressed. Meaning you probably miss out some of the top range and the bottom range, the bass and the vinyl. And there are certain ambient sounds or something that won't be, unless you're listening to lossless or FLAC, again, which is also digital. Okay, so uncompressed analog music is vinyl. Okay, now Tony asked me a really good question, and this is an excellent chance for me to also show Shenoy something interesting. So this is Bismillah Khan.
Oh.
So of you who can't see Tony, this
is a record I'm holding up of Bismillah Khan. This is him playing in notes on Indian classical music, and he plays Raga Todi and Mishra Tumri. Okay, so here I have the record in it. So I'm having a black disc in front of me, which looks very normal. So here's the thing. Now, each groove you see on this is a different. In English music, you'll have multiple grooves. In this, because it's just one raga, the whole thing is there. Now, every single groove is physical music that's been inscribed into the vinyl, right? Every single groove. So what happens is the needle, when it follows this, it basically transfers the same waves directly into the amplifier. There's no compression. Okay, absolutely no compression. So the music is written into this without any compression, and the music is played out of this without any compression, which means this format on a highly delicate scale is the closest you can get to a live performance, right? You'll get, that's the thing. So vinyls became famous. Before vinyls, you had the gramophone records, 1887, Emil Berliner, he was the first one to do it. And that was only for classical music, right? And in classical music, you needed to get the depth of the cello as well as the highs of the violin, right? And a record was able to capture all those. The only reason, the problem was they couldn't do long pieces, right? You can't do Bach songs or like Vivaldi's entire 4 seasons because there's not enough physical space. And then when music changed into shorter song formats, then they realized then they can put more. Then you had singles like 45s, then you had these ones which are 33s, and so on and so forth. The vinyl developed. But the thing is this: all throughout this development, the act of physically inscribing music in the ridges has never changed. It's always the same. So the needle, the more it moves, the more information it's able to get from the groove. Okay, so if you play a really good song, like it's really well done, then the grooves are very, very small, right? And you get more information, thereby leading to the phrase, "It's groovy, baby."
Oh.
Okay. So when somebody says, "Bro, it's in the groove," that comes from vinyl. The act of the needle, not like, for example, somebody's playing and the bass like, and suddenly all of a sudden he goes boom, which is not in the groove. For one that split millisecond, the needle goes away from the groove and comes back. Okay. And that destroys the groove. It destroys the one before that and after that. Okay. So the record is not usable. But if all the musicians are in groove, meaning it's one clean concentric circle that keeps going around. So that's how you get the word groove, which today, everybody who's doing review, Macha, that gig was so groovy. Hey, bro, thank the vinyls for that. Right? So that is one which is called the physical manifestation of music from that. So there's a beautiful song called "Wired to Sound" by Cliff Richard. All the 1970 fans will know "Wired to Sound." Okay. The chorus is, "Power from the needle to the plastic, AM, FM. I am so ecstatic now. I am wired for sound." So that's the chorus. So power from the needle to the plastic. Okay. And then from the plastic directly to the amplifier.
Interesting.
So brilliant line by the way, "Wired for Sound" by Cliff Richard. Go check it out. So that's a good example of that. So that is reason number 1. Now reason number 2. This plate is 12 inches, which all of you are familiar with because all of you like pizzas. Now the thing is, when you have a plate that's 12 inches, that means you need a cover that can hold something that's 12 inches. Now a 12 inches circle is held by a little more than 12 inches square, which means you get a lot of real estate. Shenoy, this is Begum Akhtar sings Galib. Okay, brilliant album. So this is a centenary presentation of that. Now let me show you another one which could help swing it in this favor. Now, for those who are wondering why I have Hindustani music, I also enjoy Hindustani music, if you didn't realize that by now. And this is Begum Akhtar Memoriam. Let's take out this vinyl now. Now, as I told you, the disc is 12 inches in circle. Now, which gives you a lot of surface, a lot of real estate to showcase what and all you want to do. So check this out. So this is a front cover. Beautiful picture of Begum Akhtar.
Which is a portrait, actually. Yeah.
Portrait.
Which is a painted portrait. Yeah.
It's a collage of 9 different pictures taken while Begum Akhtar was in concert. It shows her in different, and this is a memoriam. So obviously they do. But here's the thing. You could put a sleeve inside and put a LP inside. You're done. No, you have something called a gatefold sleeve. So what now happens is, it now is a huge book. You open it up. On the left is all the songs that she's written, including the Urdu versions of it. And at the bottom, it says the details of who played what and all. But then what about on the left side? On the left side, this is a tribute to Begum Akhtar by Faiz. And it talks about the school, about the ghazals and about her. So within this LP, you're getting so much information. Now, let me also bring out another record which I just happen to have. Is this latest one which I got. This is Graceland by Paul Simon. Paul Simon and Garfunkel, you know Simon and Garfunkel, right?
Yeah, I've heard Simon, yeah.
Yeah, so when Paul Simon and Garfunkel broke up, Paul Simon went his own way and he went into world music. So he listened to some African music and he loved it. So he did this album called Graceland. As you can see, the cover is very sparse. There's a picture of some African painting and there's a name. But if you turn it around, not only does it have a picture of Paul Simon, but it's got this lengthy essay by Paul Simon who talks about every song, why he recorded, where he recorded, who are the people who played on it. Like for example, here's a random line. Graceland is less typical of South African music than most other tracks because of the flexibility and collaborative musical gifts of the extraordinary musicians on it. And the names of musicians. Like for example, if somebody asks me, who's the bass player in Paul Simon? It says here, fretless bass player Bakiti Kumalo. So there's so much information and this is only the front and the back of the vinyl. Now the thing is, there's also an inner sleeve. In this case, which has the lyrics of every single song, including who sings what line. And here's something that Chuck is going to love. This is Paul Simon, singer-songwriter, performing African-influenced collaborative songs or African songs. Okay. Now, I know you can't say this, but this is a song called You Can Call Me Al. And here, let me read this out. Bass, Bhakti Kumalo. Drums, Isaac Mishali. Synthesizer, Rob Musi. Guitar, Adrian Bellew.
Interesting.
Adrian Bellew is a guitarist for King Crimson, which is a British prog band. If I hadn't seen this, I'd be like, what is Adrian Bellew doing here? So I go back on Wikipedia, check out. Apparently, King Crimson, that was Peter Fripp and Adrian Bellew were in the next studio recording. And these guys like, oh my God, you're a brilliant guitarist, sir. Please play, sir. He's played on 4 tracks here. Adrian Bellew is on this album. So as a prog fan, there's information I wouldn't have known if I hadn't had my hand on this. Okay. Now, I've shown you the outer covers. I've shown you the inner sleeves. What more do you think somebody can do? So the previous record which I show you to the ladies and who can only hear was a black disc with a red label. But this is a limited edition Paul Simon transparent disc. I can actually see through it for you.
Yeah, I can see Bertie through it. Wow.
Yeah. So this is see-through vinyl. Now,
Bertie is doing a great job of just selling vinyl right now. He's like polished salesman right now.
Now, I'm really glad I have this vinyl right now because
vinyls don't need to get grants. So.
So this is the clear part. I can see you through that. Okay. Now, as you can see, these ridges, those are the tracks. You can see that. So you are physically seeing music. I know that this is possible. Now, I, for example, can tell you this is song 1, this is song 2, song 3. And in certain albums, like all the Floyd albums, I can physically tell you
where the solo is and stuff.
Where the solo is or where the keyboard by looking at the groove.
Wow.
Okay. Because it's physical manifestation of music.
Yeah.
There is no slider where you say at 10, like in Shine On a Crazy Diamond, where the saxophone piece comes, I think 3 minutes. No, there's no slider of that part. But in a groove, if you really look, like you don't even need a microscope. You can actually just look at it and you'll know exactly where it starts. In fact, there was this Russian gentleman who, by feeling a record and by seeing it, can identify the piece of music, classical music.
Seriously?
Yeah, wow. You can Google it right now. Okay, that dude, people used to give him Bach. There was this
party trick.
If people invite to party like this, yes. So there's a famous magician called James Randi, and his job was to bunk myth. Okay, so he's a guy who people used to say, "Oh, can talk to ghosts, he'll go bunk them," all kind of stuff. So he was like, this is the type of guy I want to do. So he was also, Randy was also a musician / scientist, experimental scientist. So he set up a double-blind test.
Okay.
Right? He kept 20 vinyls, some of them music, some of them noise, some stuff that he wouldn't have heard, some stuff which is random. Our man had a 90% hit rate, and the 10% he missed to us because he said, I think this is Mendelssohn or something like that. And nobody knew it at that time. And they said, okay, 10% error is fine, whatever. And in that case, it is a random record I picked up somewhere. Later, post everything else, they discovered that it was Mendelssohn. So he had 100% at the end of it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he visually read the grooves and said, okay, you hear this violins here, that means it's a Mozart. And by seeing that the violins are more predominant in the second part, this must be Ein Nacht music or something like that. So it's physical music, right? When you hold it in your hand, it's physical music. That's one. Now, as I told you, it gives you a lot of information as well. Okay, and there's a ton of things. For example, I have the entire Toto anthology, all the songs by Toto, right? And when you look at the song listing and who's played on it and all, you can see the history come in front of your life. For example, there suddenly says Percussion by Joe Porcaro. And Joe Porcaro is the father of the musicians. Suddenly I'm thinking, so there's this old man who walks in and they're like, uncle, how are you? Have coffee. Uncle, you're here. Please play tambourine in our song. And the uncle is like, ting, 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 ting. And you can imagine that thing happening, right? It says Percussion by Joe Porcaro and you can hear a tambourine in the song. And you can imagine, okay, there's an old man sitting in a corner playing the tambourine. Everybody's like, my dad is in my record. Stuff like that. So I think it's something that helps you get closer with the music. Anyway. And here's the thing. There's been the last 2019, I think it was $680 million worth of vinyls was the market, which is the highest it's ever seen in history. Like Chuck said, it's coming up. We have independent vinyl makers in India right now, Black Groove Records, who specifically make vinyls of only indie musicians, right? So like, they have Aviel, they have Malvika Manoj, they have the next one is Indian Ocean's 2 albums come out. So it's just like music is again coming into that because you go on Spotify, you see the name of the song, you see the person who sung, that's it. That's all the information you're going to get out of it. You're not going to get anything else. Also, here's another problem which I have with Spotify. When you go listen to a song, for example, this morning to celebrate 30 years, they released an album called Blacklist, which is some of the greatest musicians of our time right now, covering the Black Album by Metallica. Now, Enter Sandman has been covered by Ghost, which is a brilliant Scandinavian metal band. So when I send that link to Chuck in the morning, guess what? He's only going to listen to that song. Oh, but he told me to listen to the song. Very nice, go away. He's not going to listen to the album, right? If he had stayed put, I hope he had, or after this he's going to, he will realize that the next song is by a Scottish band called Biffy Clyro. And they have covered the song, another song as well. And that's also different. It's nice. I like it. Maybe he might like it also. So the act of listening to an album, every song is gone in streaming. You have to listen to everything. For example, let's take...
Bertie, I want to disagree. I mean, not disagree, but I want to act as devil's advocate for a few things. But I will let you have your moment in the sun right now.
Okay.
Wow.
Look at it. This is so happy. It's been very bad.
I need Shenoy's help for this. Shenoy, can you read this out?
Natta Samrat Bal Gandharva. Yeah.
So Bal Gandharva was a great theatre personality.
Yeah. Legendary.
Legend. He was known for playing female roles on stage. Basically, Avai Shanmughi of Marathi theatre.
Yeah.
But very interestingly, he also had a great voice, unlike Kamal Haasan. So this...
Oh, shots fired.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, bro. True. So this is an entire story. So if you play this album, one song out of it, I play Shania, I'll be like, he's got a beautiful voice. But no, that's a story. You have to listen to side A, you have to listen to side B, go through the whole thing, and you get a beautiful story out of it.
Yeah,
right?
And it's quite a story also. I mean, the milieu of the times, why men were playing women roles, the whole thing. I mean, and how they would do that, and it was amazing. Yeah.
For example, this is the Dhyaneshwari, which is the Marathi version of the Bhagavad Gita.
Sung by Lata Mangeshkar, I know that. Yeah.
So this is sung by Lata Mangeshkar.
Yeah.
Excellent. But here's something you'll never get on YouTube. You'll never get on Spotify. You'll get all the songs. But between every songs, okay, you have somebody called Zul Vellani who's giving commentary in English about the song, why it is written, and what it's written for. For example, the world is a mighty tree with huge branches nourished by the three gunas. The tree is to be cut down with the axe of desirelessness and detachment. And then you go to the song. You won't get this anywhere else except when you're listening on the vinyl.
So one is purity of music, physical manifestation, and the third is the commentary which brings it alive, because
all the extra info.
it's the same thing with food, right? So you have food writers who will go eat something, and this is spicy, this is salty, this is very nice, lovely umami, and that's it. And you have other people who will bring out the background and the, why this particular grain is used, or why this spice is used, or why this isn't, and sort of tie it up to the culture of the place. So yeah, that makes it, it's an absolutely new dimension. So
work of art, like literally music, you think of it as only as a music work of art. Check this out. This is Mehdi Hasan. Okay. And I mean, this by itself is a beautiful cover showing a maiden and a couple of guys like looking at it weirdly, but it's in Mughal style painting. And I would put this up as a poster as such, irrespective of it being guzzled by Mehdi Hasan.
It is very, what little I can see is very MF Hussain-esque. It's like, it's actually,
like... Yeah. It is, yeah. So that's the thing, right? It's a work of art by itself. And recently, all the bands that are getting into this have realized that.
Yeah.
So if you go to Instagram, there are people who specialize in doing covers. For example, on Instagram, there's a guy called Dulk, D-U-L-K, who's done the covers for, he's like the Roger Dean of this generation. Roger Dean is a guy who did all the Yes albums, all the Asia albums, who's known for his fantastical worlds, who inspired Avatar, the blue world of Avatar. So Dulk does the same thing for Scandinavian metal bands. And his covers are beautiful because it's a work of art. People actually pay for the work of art.
So when you say covers, you mean the album covers and not
album cover, exactly.
Cover songs. Okay.
Album art, which by itself is a work of art. It doesn't only signify the musician, the band also, but it goes more than that. For example, everybody knows the Dark Side of the Moon cover.
Yeah.
Everybody knows. It's one of those things that's like, it doesn't have the name of the band on it, doesn't have the name of the album, but you know it is, right? Because it transcends that. It somehow, the music, it connects to the music, it connects to the feeling that you feel when you listen to the music. It's all that together, right?
Yeah.
So it is something that, like, you can't show CDs like that. You can't show tapes like that. If I had a wall, I would just put up all my LPs flat against a wall, just like literally wallpaper, and it would still look so beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite record-breaking in some sense, and I think we need to take a break in our recording and come back with Bertie's plastic smile.
Security on a computer is like a layered cake. No matter how secure each layer may be, attackers and hackers will work tirelessly to find vulnerability and exploit it. These cyber attacks can sneak into a system unnoticed, eventually gaining access to all the programs and files on your computer stack. Luckily, with Intel vPro platform, all of this is avoidable. Intel vPro has the Intel Hardware Shield, which adds protection to every layer of the computer system with 3 groups of security capabilities. Advanced threat protection, which helps quickly detect and remediate the latest ransomware and crypto mining attacks on the system. Below the OS security, which helps identify unauthorized changes to hardware and firmware, and application and data protection, which helps prevent memory corruption and malware injection. All good stuff. So secure your organization's productivity with hardware-based security only with Intel vPro. Visit www.intel.in/IT heroes to know more. That's /IT heroes. Intel vPro, built for business.
And welcome back. And the first half of this episode basically had Bertie going on a monologue as to why vinyls are awesome. And let's have a little bit of a debate/discussion on those things right now.
So you're saying finally we come through to this?
Finally we come,
Yes, bring on the debate.
No, okay. So I'm not arguing. I'm not dismissing any of the things that you said, right? Like I see value in each of the things that you have said, right? Be it the physical manifestation, be it whatever. But my question really is, I'm not defending digital or something. So for all those listening, the way I actually consume my music is halfway between vinyl and Spotify, which is I tend to buy a lot of the bands that I like, their music from Bandcamp or strangely enough from iTunes also, while the store is still available in India, and I listen to it on on a music player like Winamp. And the reason I do this is, one, to support the artists, they make more money, and two, because I like a distraction-free experience and the ability to curate my own playlists and stuff like that. So while I use Spotify for sampling, if I like an artist, I typically end up buying their entire discography or something and just, making my own playlist. So kind of like halfway between vinyl and Spotify. The reason so I'm not, this is not a digital versus vinyl sort of debate, because I see the benefits of both. The question that I'm asking really is, many of the advantages that you have said, right, Bertie, which is you're able to physically see the music more, you're able to get more art, more information. Why can't that happen in some shape or form in the digital world as well? And now I understand that Spotify might not have the best incentives to do something like that. But why can't, for example, like I think Metallica are very good at doing this, right? They package also some of the artists are just behind the times like crazy. They see it as either Spotify or vinyl and there's nothing in between. But why can't you have a more immersive download, for example? I would actually think that the digital world will allow for a lot more for a lot more formats. Like, for example, instead of only album art, what's stopping, hey, while you're playing this music, here is a custom video that you should play along with the video, for instance, which gives you even more information than even a great vinyl packaging can pack in. Have you come across anything like this, or why does something like this not exist? And importantly, from a fundamental vinyl lover point of view, even if that were to exist, how would that stack up against the vinyl experience that you have? I understand there's something totally visceral, irrational about holding something physically. Absolutely. I'm not debating that at all. You take so many photographs on your DSLR, but when you print one of them out and put them up on your wall, there is a difference to it. There's no doubt. I mean, look at all the stuff around me, for example. That, by the way, Narendra,
which brings me to the point. There are 4 people in this call.
Yeah.
Right? And 3 of us have nothing in our background. There's only one of us who has a vinyl mounted at the back.
Yeah, that's a vinyl, by the way. That's a vinyl record. A friend gave it to me and I have never listened to it. In fact, I've kept the vinyl itself away separately because I like the album art so much. And I plan to give that to Bertie sometime when I go to buy. But you're getting only the vinyl.
The cover, the vinyl, not the cover.
Cover is still going to stay over here.
You're the only one who has a vinyl mounted behind.
Fair enough.
I'm just letting you. Fair enough. Okay. By the way, yes, there is. I'll tell you who one artist who's completely taken this to a different level is our hero Devin Townsend.
Devin Townsend, yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
So Devin Townsend's music,
he's a Canadian rock musician.
Excuse me. Is that it? He's a
He's simplifying.
Applying footnotes, looking at the befuddlement on our faces and feeling obliged to supply footnotes.
I was about to say who Devin Townsend is, but yeah, Devin Townsend is a manic genius, is what I would like to call him, who, because of his mental health and because of his extreme behavior changes in mentality, his music is also the same. So he goes from like whiplash, headbanging death metal to classical music to ambient noise to pop to country and to just drone music. He can do all of
and these are literally like one album after the other.
Yes, exactly. They're all complete different albums for each genre, which he does beautifully. And he also has taken on the electronic. He does Twitch streams. He does all these live streams. But here's the thing. He also believes in that music should be an immersive experience. So when, for example, he's currently releasing a new album called, being Devin Townsend, he releases 2 albums. Okay. So one is called Snuggles, one is called Puzzle. Okay. So Snuggles is more like ambient Floyd type of music, and Puzzle is more like hard rock meets metal meets ambient types. The thing is this, both are different, are being released at the same time, and they have immersive experiences. You get DVDs which have these puzzle videos which you have to assemble according to how they speak to you. So if there are 12 tracks, there are 12 works of art, abstract archaic art, which are given to you, and you put it up in your house and you follow the songs and you make up your own storyline as to how it is. Right? And you make up the theory like, okay, this song is that art piece, and then, but there's no right or wrong. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And he's got his immersive videos as well. There are these different types of videos where it's just lights and all the kind of stuff. You just, instead of closing your eyes and listening to music, you watch the video. This is like one of those old Winamp visualizers, which I know Chuck loves.
What do you mean old? I literally did that this morning. What do you mean old?
Excellent. One of the Winamp visualizer Chuck loves, it is basically that, but it's more in tune with the music, as in it moves around and I think it knows what's going to happen. So it's not retroactive, it's literally live as it happens. So yeah, Devin Townsend, and he also has the same thing. He's got LPs, he's got also downloads. When he sends an MP, like for example, the LP I have of his double album, it came with a free voucher for free downloads. Meaning, okay, you have my LP, you can listen to it, but you can't carry it with you. So here you go. Take the MP3 also, hi-fi MP3. So it was 320 kbps, MP3, free came with that. And it also came with the DVD. Okay, so here's the thing. I paid for the LP, but I got a DVD. I got all his hi-fi MP3, all the sleeves, everything together. It's a package and the whole thing costs 3K. Okay, which is not bad at all, considering this is something that you're going to have forever in your hand, always, right? And the best part about this is in streaming, you get 8.08 cents per stream or something, right? In this, 60% of it goes to him.
Yeah. No, but right. I really wasn't talking about the economics of this. That I understand. I think that everybody understands. The point.
But again, like you said, it is being done. You can get all this. For example, the new album that's coming out from Malvika Manoj, Caution to the Wind, the vinyl is coming out. It's also there in electronic form. Yeah. She's also putting out other stuff. You can get posters and you get everything. But it is ripe. It is there. People haven't taken it as much. I really wish the other big bands would do it. Like Dream Theater and all don't do it. Okay, they just release an album. It's literally, if you get
it. You're just getting 5 tracks.
That's it. That's it. You get on the cover. That's it. You get the names of the people and all. They don't put stories inside. They don't put stuff inside. Devin puts all that inside.
Yeah. So it is less a criticism of the format than Bertie, really, than it is of the artist or the platform taking that effort. Like I would think, like a lot of things that you're saying right now is not so much an advantage of vinyl as much as the artist or the label or whatever it is taking the effort to make it a more immersive experience, be it physical or be it digital. Like I'm guessing that you would rather listen to an album digitally if they had all this kind of gyan and information and backstory, photographs, whatever the case may be, as opposed to a vinyl that was just cover and album, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, by the way, cassettes also. Do you remember this band Strings and their album
Of course. Of course.
So they have 2 versions of the cassettes out. One is just normal cassette which you opened, you had 2 sleeves. The other one had a booklet.
I remember this.
So you read about it and then you get information from it and you're like, wow, that is so cool.
But that's very interesting. Okay, so this little bit aside, right, which I think digital also has the possibility to. One of the things that I keep hearing about vinyl is just pure immersiveness, the fact that you can switch off everything. And while, yes, that you can still do that on your computer, which is kind of like why I use Winamp and just turn off the browser altogether. How true is that in your experience when you listen to a vinyl, that you can just switch off completely?
It's very true in my case because I'm inherently lazy. Right?
Okay.
So I have my vinyl player in front. I have a sofa, which is an acoustic sweet spot. My other players have remote controls. I can click pause, I can click stop, I can go next. My vinyl player doesn't. I put a switch. When I sit down, I don't want to walk across the room and press pause or anything. Even if people call me, I'm like, play the whole damn thing.
Yeah, so
it has to, just because of the fact that I'm lazy, it is immersive.
And poor Tony, who has been silent for most of this conversation, like to me, the analogy is like watching a complete test match versus just seeing the highlights in some sense. I still remember I was going to somebody's, and this is a time when we had stopped watching test matches properly because, time. And I was at somebody's house for practice for something, some theater something. And I didn't need to do anything that way. And the match happened to be on. Dravid was playing over there. And I was just so completely awed at stuff that wouldn't make it to the highlights, And to some extent, this is the first time Tony's like, yes.
Actually, I was incidentally thinking of the exact same thing because before we started this recording, I was asking Chuck how to get, more space on drive and delete the stuff you uploaded to other people's drives. The reason is that I've got full match from MCG, GABA, Lords, and Oval, and I just keep watching them all the time, right? And the experience that you get from a Sky broadcast versus the ad interrupted one here is massively different. So, I mean, I was making actual like analogies to that in my head. Yeah.
That's quite interesting that, there are, I mean, there are so many parallels over here, right? It's not just about music versus something else, or it's complete immersiveness and non-distractive reading or listening or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you can follow a match on Cricinfo also, or you can watch it on mute, or you can watch it with commentary, or you can watch it with the extended coverage.
And thank you for appealing to me by saying Cricinfo rather than the other one. Cricinfo fan. No, that's interesting, Bertie. And also these days, I guess, so here's the other sort of trend in the world of digital I've noticed, right? As more and more of our lives become digital, we place more of a premium on physical products in some way or the other. If that sort of makes sense, like, even though there are so many, look at us, for instance, like music freaks like you and me, even though we've attended so many of these so-called online concerts, we would die to go to any offline concert right now. Similarly, like I consume all my books on Kindle these days, but the moment Sapiens ka graphic novel came out, I said, we need that you need a physical copy of, right? And similarly, I see all these complete box sets of vinyl records that some of our favorite bands come out with, and they are, to me, what's amazing is they have realized that this is no longer the way masses consume their music, so you might as well make it for the fans, and they come out with these beautiful box sets with everything. So there's definitely something there.
Yeah, it extends to everything, right? Even food. I mean, food basically also, whatever you're like into is now about the full experience rather than
you have the Fasos Subway kind of thing too for quick nutrition, and then you have a more absolutely.
Do you have one of those places in Mumbai where it just, instead of telling you this is just a burger, they tell you where it's sourced and where the milk was taken from, all that kind of stuff?
I mean, that seems like a highly Indiranagar thing, but it happens here.
It is literally in Indiranagar. Yes.
No, but that happens. Yeah, and I think that's true of everything, right? Like you see this new D2C wave products that are coming, and suddenly you now start thinking, oh, okay, I need to think this way about my detergent also. So I guess that's very interesting.
Okay, I know that you're not convert to vinyl, but I'm glad I got this opportunity to talk about
the only reason being the cost, to be very honest, because I feel like it's not like a one-off purchase, right? When you get into vinyl, you need
it is a rabbit hole. It is a
rabbit hole because now you're in the ecosystem. It's different. Like if you told me, I'm willing to experiment to say $5,000 is a new audio format on the computer itself, because if it doesn't work out, it's okay. 5K, fair enough. But this, you now have a damn vinyl player that you have purchased, and that they don't come cheap, do they?
Yeah, absolutely. No, they don't. They don't at all. The cheapest one, which is not that great, starts at 5K or 6K.
5K or something,
and it's not even that great.
And is there a difference in the audio quality between FLAC
and... Now, here's the interesting thing. The audio quality of vinyl might actually be slightly lower than CD.
That is
true.
You
want to talk about that?
See, again, this is also different. I can't talk about that because here's the thing. The ones that I showed you, those ones may not be that great. But the new Devin Townsend album, it is 180 grams, it's brilliant. Played through the right amplifiers is as good as a FLAC. Or, it's really top-notch, lossless sound. But we are talking about old LPs and some old systems and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very relative thing. Like, for example, like Chuck said, the same album, for example, the Paul Simon album, I hear it in Bangalore, it's going to be different. I hear it in my dad's system in Madurai, it's going to be different. If I take it to Headphone Zone and they have one of those fancy ass 4 lakh LP systems, it's going to sound amazing. It's going to be different also. So on the sound front of it, I cannot honestly say anything because it's very, very different. Like even the one that's here right now, where in the house I am, it unfortunately what happens is there's no bass in it. For some reason, one of the amplifier nozzles are stuck, the bass cannot be changed. So it's a very flat output. So even though it's a good LP, I'm finding different things. The thing is, Uncle listens to Hindustani music, which is pretty much like that. You don't get woofers, you don't get double bass, you don't get soaring violence. And it's all mostly voice-based. Hindustani ghazal, you need to listen to the voice. So a flat amplifier has never been a problem for him. It's brilliant. But when I am listening to stuff on here, for example, I put Victor Wooten, it sounds really bad because it's flat. But it's perfect for Hindustani music.
So that being said, I would really like to see Hindustani metal.
There's this guy who plays the Hindustani metal sitar.
Yeah, sitar. Yeah.
Niladri Kumar.
No, Niladri Kumar, not Niladri Kumar. There's somebody who actually does proper metal with sitar.
Okay.
Rishabh Singh.
It's sitar metal.
Yeah, sitar metal. Rishabh. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
I get that Hindustani and metal music or rock music have different sound profiles. Yeah, But one learning. I apologize for missing out on a part of the discussion because some work-related call, and as always, every crisis is a crisis which is going to end the world. So it has to be. So I attended that. The thing is, I grew up with only Hindustani classical music, and I never got Western music, the popular music. I went through 4 years of engineering college. I used to listen. All my friends used to play Dire Straits and all kinds of noise all the time. Floyd, everything. And I couldn't get it. I couldn't get the fun of the music. The Hindustani classical music was what my ear was trained to appreciate. That. It's only recently, after my son started, so he's a big Dire Straits and Pink Floyd fan, and it is general practice with me to take off on rants about Western music, and then he actually invested time, learned guitar, and then played stuff, and then showed me. He went into jazz and mixed modes and things like that, and then when I started realizing that it was a completely different, it's completely orthogonal. That amazes me about music. So they have like several different dimensions. So if you listen to African tribal music, you don't it's like noise in the beginning, but after some time, after your mind gets used to it and accepts it. So my thing is, so there's really no point. I'm like one of those uncles who stands up in the question session and asks one long pointless question where basically he's just talking about himself. And the end of the day is that guy say, "Okay, uncle, what are your questions?" So I really don't know.
So this is an RBs.
Shanai, can I quickly tell you something? So uncle here, Abe uncle, was the same. He listens only Hindustani music, but he suddenly realized he's a fan of Bruce Springsteen for some reason. Okay, so why didn't you try listening to the old Bruce Springsteen music and see if you like it? I want to see if this is technically scientific.
Bertie, one of my plans is to somehow get Naren to my place and actually expose him to some things that he might not have.
That's been on the cards for a while.
Yeah. So Naren, you tell me when you're free and we'll
So I figured out one thing, that it's basically the act of opening your mind. It's just opening 100%. Your mind and accepting it. All strange music sounds like noise initially. It does. Yeah. I know it does. I know Floyd sounded like noise to me, and now I
hated
love
the Beatles first time I heard them.
Yeah.
So
that is something which is amazing. I mean, it's something which is very amazing.
And I think it's a nice poignant note to end this conversation on as well. I think we've gone too profound now to come back and talk about how a vinyl record operates and things like that. But Bertie, just actually, let me just end it this way. Suppose there's somebody who's listened to this episode and is just now curious as to vinyl. So is there a way for them to test the waters? I mean, apart from hopefully having a friend like yours who will induct them in the house and all that, is there a way for them to go and check out some gear? Or if there's people who are interested enough, how do they get started? Any advice on that? Or a resource they could go to?
This is the tried and tested method, which I have done with a couple of friends, and I am going to say this works. Go to, I know in Chennai and Bangalore, I think I might know in Mumbai, but I don't know, and I definitely know in Delhi, is go to one of those places, like bazaars or markets. For example, in Chennai, it's Moor Market. And you just go, there are these places which sell records.
Okay.
And you can get them for 100 rupees, 200 rupees. Okay. Like in Chennai, you'll get an Ilayaraja record or some MS Vishwanathan record for $100 easily.
Chor Bazaar in Bombay for sure.
Someplace. Go there, pick up 3 or 4. Something. So about 500 rupees you're investing in just buying this.
Sure.
You buy a record which looks nice to you and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Keep it. You don't need a vinyl player. Then eventually you'll find a vinyl player. Some dude who has a vinyl player saying, "Hey, bro, I have a vinyl player."
That's the thing about vinyl player. Guys who have vinyl players, they'll make it known. It's like
And
an
then they go, come. They'll be
It's like an IIT degree. Yeah.
Yeah. Come. And then when you go there, you go with your vinyl, play it, and then you can see for yourself, this is your own music, you're listening to it. If it feels good, then you can talk about the next investment, which is a vinyl player, which a really good vinyl player, let's say Audio Technica, which will also go into your audio system. You don't need to buy a new amplifier, like nothing. It will cost around like 10K or 11K, right? And then just put aside some money for it. Or if your friends say, "Hey, it's your birthday coming up, what would you like?" Please put
Now you have an answer.
towards my record player fund. And then purchase that. And you can live your entire life with just 7 good vinyls and a player and enjoy it by yourself. That's it. You don't need to go through the whole thing like what we do. But that's the first thing I would say to a person who wants to try it out. That's what I would say. Who doesn't want to spend too much money. That's my thing.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, I mean, and you are as open-minded as any person that I know. It's completely okay to do most of your listening on the more convenient platforms like Spotify, or even like I download music, and then maybe the 4 or 5 albums that you really, really like, you have box sets or something for them separately. Like
I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing to everybody out there. All of you who are amazing or big fans of some band, okay? Let me tell you right away. Those who in India grew up torrenting or putting, like me, LimeWire or Kazaa, or even the Napster generation. Like, for example, I was a big Floyd fan. I downloaded, I had, my thing was on one MP3, one Sony MP3 player, I had every single Floyd song. That was my thing. I spent 120 rupees to go to some internet cafe and write it to a CD. So my entire thing was 120 rupees, of which 0 went to Pink Floyd. Right? But now that I can spend, I thought, okay, they have given me so much in life. The least I can do is invest in something that's from them. That's why I bought the Floyd records. That's the reason that the whole thing started, was like, I want to give back to the musicians. No, they don't need millions. They are already super rich. But then this is my part of saying, okay, they have put this out for their fans. As a fan who did not have that, I want to give it back. That's why I did that. And that's the same reason why I have also bought the Yo Wilderness LP from Pineapple Thief. Because Pineapple Thief is not that big. They make little money. And I stream the music every day. My Spotify is literally on them every day. But the least I can do is buy that and keep. So that's it. So if you're a fan of a band, if you truly are like, I am a big fan of this band, buy one LP.
This is such a lovely thought, actually, for all, for everyone who's basically grown up listening to music for free. That music is, it's free because of some quirks of
economics and all.
In literally every other age. You would have to pay for that music.
Exactly. So
there is a small counter to this whole thing, which of course goes contrary to this entire discussion, which I don't want to bring in right now. I mean, one of the things that you spoke about, Bertie, was that we've lost the ability to listen to an album completely. I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I just think it's the way music and culture has evolved, but that's a completely different talk show. I know. So let's not bring that over. The depth of the album, I think the mourning of that is highly overrated. But anyway, that's a discussion for another. I just wanted to mention it so I don't forget it.
Excellent.
But I think we should end on a happier note. So please go back to saying something positive rather than a stupid thing that I just said.
Here's the thing which I'll say about. Okay, for all those people out there who have a friend who's a big fan of the music, a really good gift to give to somebody on a birthday is a vinyl record, even if they don't have a player. Okay, because it's 2 things. One, they get something that they'll never be able to use because they don't have a vinyl player, which really pisses them off. It's really cool as a friend to give somebody something and make them go through the thing. I have a physical music, I can't listen to it. And the other same thing, it's something like, hey, bro, you told me you're a Dire Straits fan. Here, here's a Dire Straits record. It's about 1,000 rupees or 1,500 if you find on Amazon. Okay. And then you're giving them a gift which means a lot to them, but it really annoys them because they can't use it. Brilliant.
And point number 3, whenever they see Bertie, he'll get the vinyl.
He'll get the vinyl. Amazing. Thank you, Bertie, for your second successful episode over here. And,
it was amazing.
You had us going around in circles.
Very
groovy. No, if you start off on this, then we can.
Which can be either 33 or 45.
You touched it with a needle.
So Naren, you know what to do.
Yeah. This time it's easy. It's stay safe, stay groovy, and stay simple.
Very nice.
Stay groovy.
Thank you, Bertie. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will be back next week once again.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, just wanted to ask everyone for a quick favor. We're running a brand survey right now and would really appreciate it if you could let us know what you think about the advertising on IVM. Go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and do let us know. As part of this, we'll be selecting 10 random participants and sending them some IVM swag, so do fill out those surveys. Hey everybody, it's been a great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On FinTalks at Bob World, hosted by Akhil Handa, the Chief Digital Officer at Bank of Baroda, he talks to Vinay Bagri, co-founder and CEO at Neo. They discuss the neobank revolution in India. A really interesting conversation. Do check that out. On The Longest Constitution, Priya sheds light on how the illegality of sex work was challenged in court under the right to practice trade. On Smarter with Sid, we look at why Siddharth thinks mise en place is an important concept and what we can learn from it. On Agla Station Adulthood, join Ritasha and Ayushi as they talk about how decision-making is such a humongous task and how we can organize thoughts to take better decisions. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any other show for that matter, please do tell a friend. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda, Quarter, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Inter. We appreciate the support.